The goal is long-term. Where do you want to be tomorrow, and how the heck are you going to get there? And being able to use that data to help drive that action plan. So, how does that sound to everybody? All right, great. So today is really, I'm going to talk the most in the morning, and I apologize ahead of time. I much rather prefer facilitating and guiding. So this morning you're going to hear me talk the most, and it's basically going to be modeling Green Hills regional data so that you can see how I go across the platform, how I'm looking at the domains, and how I'm connecting the dots. There are so many relationships across the domains, things that are impacting digital citizenship, skills, professional development, policies, beliefs. They're all tentacles back to the classroom. So being able to model that through the regional data so that you can do the same when you're looking at your data. And then basically being able to take today as an opportunity, get out of your comfort zone, and you know what? Go talk to people. Here, what types of things are you seeing in your district? What types of resources do you think you're going to use? Oh, that's a really creative way. I never thought of doing it that way. So being able to have that time to share and then making sure that this is actionable today. And just to, David, do they see my screen as we're diving into the presentation?
For sure, yes.
Okay, thank you. So I'm just going to give you a sneak peek of the agenda. I am a taskmaster. That's just the educator in me. So we have an ambitious agenda. There are times when you think, oh, I really like some more time to do some high prioritizing. I really like to do some more time to set up my goals and my action plan. If we need to move ahead, the idea is I want to be able to give you the tools that you can use to go back home. So even if we don't get through them today, you understand how they work, you understand what you need to do to get from beginning to end. And so if we don't get to finish up all those activities today, the hope is you'll bring this back home and continue working on it. Okay. So if you look at the agenda, it's a little hard to see because there's a lot in there, but basically it's a combination of what we had just talked about. That modeling, instruction, sharing, discussion, hopefully a little bit of fun. And then the idea is this afternoon, it's almost all work time for you. That's our goal. So, I love quotes. I just think that they're so powerful. So I just wanted to put a few quotes up here from Mark Prensky's website. He is known for creating student focus groups, and so these are just a few quotes from students who have been in his focus groups in the past. Just to kind of give us an idea, typically, what learners are, what their experience is. Great. Yep. So I'm not a big video person. Oh, yeah.
Did everybody get a chance to put into the piece? All right, and the second thing is, I have something listed out here. Was this what you did want or you didn't? What did not? Did not want. All right, got it. Thank you.
Our remote group, if this might be a little hard to see and hear, if you want to go to YouTube and go look for Learning to Change, Changing to Learn, you can look at this separately, but we're watching it as a group. This, I feel, is, I couldn't say it any more eloquently than this video talks about setting up our day. Everything that they talk about in my heart, that is why I'm here today. And so I do think it's worth a few minutes. It's called Learning to Change, Changing to Learn. It's produced by COSIN. And basically it's conversations with educational leaders from around the world talking about where we're at in learning and education today.
The U.S. Department of Commerce ranked 55 industry sectors by their level of IT intensiveness. Education was ranked number 55, the lowest, below coal mining.
For the last 100 years, we've used the industrial narrative. Schools are like factories. It's an administrative process. It's about control and order.
The kids are having a much more stimulating and rich environment outside of schools now.
Kids have very rich content available today through their social networking sites. They're big communicators through email, instant messaging, and text messaging, and yet all of those things are banned from their schools.
And in terms of devices, potentially, in terms of child.
We have to accept as educators that technology is not really a choice. It has created a world. It's just not here to help you teach traditional subjects. It has invented, has emerged a completely new environment.
It's about relationship. It's about community. It's about connectivity. It's about access.
Children are living now in a different space. They're living in what I call nearly now. And nearly now is that space that they're texting, the space that they update their Facebook entries in, the space that they Twitter, the space that is not quite synchronous. Now, it's a really interesting space because it's not adversarial, it's not pressured. It's a space where people can, it's all the hours they can reflect and retract and research and repeat. It's a very gentle, I tell you what, it's a great world for learning.
If I could remodel a classroom today, I'm not sure it would be a bricks and mortar classroom.
So the student is at the center, and school is just one of the ways and places that they learn. But they also learn through community, at home, in museums, in libraries, and of course, online. It's about providing the best quality teachers no matter where a student lives and making those bridges.
It's wandering around the city with their cell phones and collecting data that kids will be doing outside of school.
The school might be the place where you come together to do joint projects, where you social network, where you do some of the other kinds of enrichment things.
We've got a classroom system when we could have a community system. It's about opening the door to NASA resources, to the labs that are being developed online at MIT, and connecting these students to the kinds of opportunities that will fundamentally shift their academic experience and make them better prepared, not only for college, but for life.
Start with the teacher. If I want my students to be making global connections, then I'm going to give the tools to my teachers first and provide them with opportunities to connect with other teachers around the world or other teachers around the country.
The task is to give teachers a place where they can swap authentic ingredients and their evidence that those ingredients are safe and tested. Do you know that doesn't exist anywhere in the world? I've just been part of a big project that I think change that radically.
We have to develop a narrative that sustains 21st century learning.
If we simply apply standards, if we simply have a steady regime of standardized testing, that will make things better. When in fact, it is economically actually a foolish idea, because the jobs that these kids in school will be having do not call for these kind of right answer vending machine approach.
Let no child fade away. It enables global creativity and innovations.
They will be doing work that calls on their artistic abilities, that calls on their abilities of synthesis, that calls on their abilities of understanding context, that calls on their abilities of working in teams, that calls on their abilities in some sense to be multidisciplinary, multilingual, multicultural.
So the coin of the realm is not memorizing the facts that they're going to need to know for the rest of their lives. The coin of the realm will be, do you know how to find information? Do you know how to validate it? Do you know how to synthesize it? Do you know how to leverage it? Do you know how to communicate it? Do you know how to collaborate with it? Do you know how to problem solve with it? That's the new 21st century set of literacies. And it looks a lot different than the model that most of us were raised in.
Now we're looking at a whole different range of schools. We're looking at schools that are producing genius, collaborative, gregarious, brave children who care about stuff like the culture. And to build schools that do that is a whole other challenge. And around the world, people are testing out the ingredients of what makes that work. And those ingredients are being assembled into some just stunning recipes in different places. It's a very exciting time for learning. It's the death of education, but it's the dawn of learning. That makes me very happy.
What do you think? Does that resonate with you? Parts of it? It really resonates with me. And does anybody recognize this optical illusion? What is the first thing that your eyes are drawn to when you look at this? Just shout it out.
Two elderly people.
The two people looking at each other, right? Consider that kind of your mindset. Your eyes naturally go to those images. For our school cultures and for our teachers and our administrators and our community within our schools to have a mind shift, we have to be able to allow our eyes to see something differently, to have that mind shift. And so when you start looking at the image in a different way, what types of things start popping out? Okay, so there's a woman who is right in that doorway that you can see. There are, yep, and there's two people that are, this person has a guitar and this person is holding something on their head. There's a chalice in the middle of them. So I love teaching history. And when I would talk to my learners about being a historian, it's all about perspectives. And that we're not just telling the story of the majority and who has the loudest voice, but we're piecing together all of the elements that make up that story. And so this was such a powerful image to say, as a historian, these are not the two things that you focus on. You have to look at the whole picture. And I think in this particular situation, it's that mind shift. So much of your data is really about school culture, particularly when you get into the environment domain. Being able to make sure that technology integration in meaningful and purposeful ways is on everybody's radar. And how do you do that? And if there's a mind shift that needs to occur, what is that going to look like for you in your district, in your schools? So it's just something to consider as we're looking through the day. Oh, love this quote, right? So true. Our technology is constantly changing. Don't focus on the gadget, focus on the action. So just so that I can differentiate today and adapt my pace, if you could just tell me by fingers, where do you feel like you are on the clarity continuum? Going into the platform, looking at your data, understanding it. 1, little to no, 2, somewhat solid, or you need to take up my place. Okay, perfect. Thank you. And we can move on. All right, so as we begin the day, as a backup, we have a Google troubleshooting doc that David sent out to you this weekend. This is a place that you would go to ask questions. Our customer support and our director of Clarity Platforms is going to be watching this in about 40 minutes. So rather than asking me, just put it into the troubleshooting doc. So questions, feedback is a great place for this to go. So as you're looking at your data today, you see a question, you say, gosh, I would have reworded that a little bit differently. She just talked about focus on your action or on your verbs, not your nouns. So any type of feedback, this is confusing. I think this question should be worded in a different way. You need different types of answers to this. That would also go into the troubleshooting doc, okay? So feedback, questions, it is in real time. Oftentimes for me, I feel like if I have a question, other people have the same question, so it's nice just to be able to see everybody's questions and responses. Does everybody have that up or know where to get it? You don't have it, okay. Let's see. We will take care of that for you. All right, so I think I am going to take Judy's spot. I'm going to go live onto the website. And let's look at your regional data. So I'm going to leave the PowerPoint. And We're just gonna focus on your regional data. I'm gonna be going kind of back and forth to be able to show things. So don't worry about going onto your platform, your dashboard right now. We'll just look at the regional data. So from here, one of the first things that pops out is this banner. This banner represents your overall CASE score of 1,300. CASE is a research-based framework that stands for Classroom, Access, Skills, and Environment. It has been around for a decade, and what it was built to do is to be able to measure, is the technology we're putting into the classroom simply going into that learning environment, or are we using it in meaningful and purposeful ways? The indicators that it looks at tells us very clearly, is this working the way that you have intended it to? So with this CASE score, and Judy, if you can just hover over the maturity bands to show the legend. So it's out of 1,300. I love the fact that it's color coded. So at a glance, decision makers, school board members, you can see, yep, this is where we are as a district. This is where our teachers and kids are today. We can see where you are on that continuum. You will notice that in your domains, we didn't give CASE scores. We just gave the colors so that you could focus where you are in that maturity band versus getting stuck on the number. Sound a little familiar? Within that score, for a region, your baseline, this is a really solid score. You're right in the middle of proficient. So kudos to you as a region for all the things that you've done to set down the foundations for bringing technology into the classroom and using it in those meaningful and purposeful ways. Once you continue gathering more data, right now the state of Iowa has a 3-year license to use this. We are curating research projects in every school in Iowa that's using the Clarity platform. So if you can imagine the power and potential of that as a region and as a state, it's really exciting. So as you continue gathering data along the way, this history will be much more meaningful to you. Right now, there's nothing because this is your baseline. If you go into the map, you will see your information, your district. You do not have access to the regional data except for Green Hills as the administrator. It's going to take a moment to download because there are so many schools contributing towards the platform and the data. But basically, you'll see those little school icons, and they're color-coded by their overall CASE score. I'm gonna wait a moment. This is nice to just kind of see high-level overview. Where are each of your schools in your district? What's more interesting, actually, let's go ahead, Judy, it's taking so long to download, and jump into data. Actually, this little data button under maps, which oftentimes people just kind of fall into and be like, oh, what's this? Is one of my favorite places on the platform. And that is because as a region, it shows all of my school districts, but then if I expand it, I can see where each of their schools are across each of those domains. It's nice for Green Hills because they can look at that and they can start putting together data cohorts based on where the trends are, where people are clustering, where are the outliers. It's a really nice way to bring people together. I know, I see a couple people have theirs up.
Judy, you're on Chrome.
Oh, you know what? I am on Chrome. Should we switch over to a different platform? Everyone, yeah? Yeah. Sure.
I just
And then
sent
I
it,
just
it
want
was
to log in.
a request. Yeah. Because he has
We can try Safari, yeah. See if that's a little friendlier. As we are going over to a different web browser, that third button with the lines and the dots is in reference to being able to filter, eventually by time slices, by schools, which is again really nice just to do comparisons internally and see what the heck is going on. So let me go ahead and log in.
There we go. No. Just looking at the data.
Okay, so I'm just gonna log in under Green Hills
Okay, so now
so that you can see.
the others.
It's funny,
Very, very. Here, that's question. Right. What?
Oh, there it is. Did you see it? Oh, I know. Just had it. Wait, click. Oh. It is. Sorry. Yay, okay. So as a region, here are all of the districts participating. And then if we scroll down, we did get permission from Glenwood to share their information so that you could see what it looks like in that expanded view. And you can see the breakdown. Oops, there it is.
No, I don't know how you want to go into these. Okay.
Oh, no, that's okay. Yeah. So that you can see the breakdown in their schools and where they sit in each of those domains. For a district, I would use this in a couple of different ways. I could see myself building internal data cohorts, PLCs, mentoring situations. So if I see outliers on the lower end of things, and I also see somebody, like for instance, West Elementary, what the heck is going on at Northeast? Is there any way I could bring those faculties and that staff a little bit closer together and do some peer observations, do some mentoring type things, so that we can see what's going on at Northeast and how we can help West be able to adopt some of those things if they feel like that's a good fit for their population, for their resources, and for their staff. So there's a lot of things, and if we had time to be able to just brainstorm what would we use for this. Those are just a couple of things that I see when I look at this particular breakdown of schools. Okay, so we're gonna go back to the dashboard, and let's jump into domains. Yep. Okay. And if we scroll down so that we can see the full domain, Great, thank you. So as I said, with this framework, that's the foundation of Clarity Platform, we've got the 4 domains, that's the top of the hierarchy. The next level are 22 success indicators. These indicators are what we look at to determine the questions that we ask your administrators, teachers, and parents. And it's in each of these areas, right? And if we dig in deeper to that, and we're not going to do that right now, but we'll see the variables within those success indicators and then hundreds of data points. That's what gets to be the overload. Holy buckets, where do we even begin? Because there is so much information. Typically, at a national level, we have over 6,000 schools in the country that are on the Clarity Platform. Classroom, it's pink, it's beginning. And typically people look at that and they say, oh my gosh, we gotta focus on that. But I'd like us to stand back and to see this as access, skills, and environment are actually contributing to what happens in the classroom. So yes, we want to move the dial in the classroom, but to be able to see what's going on in these other areas and to get a different type of perspective is the way that I'm going to go for today. So instead of starting with classroom, I'm going to do that last. I'm going to jump into access. And access at school, I mean, your baseline, access is typically strong for most regions and most districts. As they're building that groundwork for one-to-ones, BYOD, they realize they have to have that infrastructure and whatnot. To see it as a baseline, example, oh, shoot, I just lost my continuous example. The last.
Oh, it won't work on the program.
It is temporary. Okay, sorry. No, that's okay. It was my brain is really impressive. So given that it's nice to be able to have an understanding of what's happening at school, but what can we control? What's happening at school? So the one thing that I'll note is, well, actually there's 2 in access. Parents. Those who are surveying parents, they do not contribute to your access score for home. There is no contribution to your score with parents' information. You can see what parents have responded, but basically, again, it gleams into what is going on at home. What type of beliefs do they have? What type of devices do they have? If they have devices, most likely the kids are using those devices. And how many of us have kids where we're constantly like, where the heck is my, because they're on them. So that really helps to be able to understand what's happening from home and how those beliefs and actions are moving into the school. So parents do not influence your K-score. Student responses are actually asked to the teachers because we felt like we would get a more realistic understanding of what the ratios are, particularly for elementary kids to be able to understand, okay, what's your ratio of classroom computers to students? What? So student information for access, we actually ask the teachers. Does that make sense? That's a little confusing. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump into teachers at school. So Judy's going to expand that T, and here we see all of the variables that contribute to the success indicator, teachers at school, under the domain of access. If we look at teacher access to devices in the classroom, sometimes there might be 1 data point, sometimes there might be 5 or 7 or 8. It just depends how broad that area is that we're covering. So teacher access to devices in the classroom for their own use. It's between desktops, mobile computers, and tablets. And if you scroll down just a little bit farther so that we can see, when I look at this, to me, as a region, you are phasing out the desktops and you are moving into mobile and tablets, and that's going to be your recycling plan, or that's what you're moving into, right? This data will also tell you how robust your computer labs are, your static computer labs. Is that a resource or are they being phased out as well? These are based on the classroom computers. You're taking your resources and you are placing them into a different bucket for resources, okay? If we go back up a little bit, you can see overall, teachers, and we can go back up to the statement. Teacher access to devices in the classroom for their own use is pretty strong. Okay. So when we are navigating, instead of using your back button all the time, up here you have a bar that allows you to go to the different hierarchies. So this last option is still in access. Here are all of your variables within teacher access in the school. Here is that success indicator that will show you all the success indicators for access. Your domains, so I can jump from access to environment, or if you want to go back to your dashboard. So this is what I use to navigate. I don't use the back button. Okay. If we jump to the success indicator students at school, let's look at lab carts. So, more than half of the time or all of the time, you're looking at 84%. That's a pretty solid ability to get to access technology that you want to. If I use this all the time, there's a comparison option here. So you could compare this to all of Iowa using the platform, or you could compare this at a national perspective to see, okay, where are we here? Are we in the same boat? Is this a challenge for us? Are we ahead of the game? And you can see all of Clarity is in stripes. The region is solid. You're ahead of the game here. Very clever. You're ahead of the game here. So these are the types of things that I'm looking for when I'm in access. And given the amount of time that you have today, and where are all of my stakeholders in technology? You're responsible for the implementation. You are probably going to be spending a fair amount of time in access just to be able to see, you know what did we do really well? Where are the gaps? And where do we need more work? Okay. So, given that, I'm going to go to the next domain of skills. So professional development, people who are responsible for professional development and curriculum are going to be very interested in skills. And if we can go all the way down, Judy, right here. This is classic. We see across the country, foundational skills, teachers are almost always ahead of the students, right? I can download software. I can write an email. Our kids, do our kids email? No. It's too slow for them, right? I want that instant reply. And students are always just a little bit below or far back. But then once we get into online skills and multimedia skills, what happens? Our students start pulling ahead, and they are the ones that have the skills. Okay, so if we look at teacher multimedia skills, confidence and frequency. There should be a number of data points here because there's so much that revolves around those multimedia skills. So just kind of looking through the different types of things we're asking for. Ease of editing a photo, very easy. Let's compare that, Judy, to their students. So if the question was asked both to teachers and students, you will have the option to actually compare it. And so in this case, in comparison to students, 45% of students said, yeah, that's very easy for me to do. Okay. The other thing is, if we scroll up just a little bit more, you have this little scissors icon. I love this functionality because any type of data, particularly once you start honing into those comparisons, you can save this as an image. You can paste this into an email. You can put this into a school board presentation. You can have this on your website. You can share this in a staff meeting. Every staff meeting, my principals are going to start with an interesting data point. For conversation, let's just talk. Mind shift, school culture, get this on your radar. What's going on here, right? It's a great way to be able to collect those interesting data images. Okay, if we continue scrolling down and just getting an idea of what those multimedia skills are, recording and editing audio. Oh, that complexity just got a little bit more complex, and no longer is it very easy, right? We're down to 16%, find that very easy. What else do we have? Recording and editing video, okay? Next one, uploading photos, and as we continue going down, downloading music, MP3 players, playing games on a computer, and if we can go all the way down to why it matters. Every set of data points has this why it matters. I am the type of educator where I would be in services or professional development, and whoever was talking to me would tell me, this is what you need to do. This is how you do it. And I would always be the one who says, why? So what? How is that going to make me teach science better? That is why we have the why it matters. To be able to understand, why the heck are you asking these questions? And so why do you ask? Because research says teachers who have strong multimedia skills are better prepared to engage students. Not only better prepared, but more likely. Because if I don't have the confidence, I don't have the knowledge base, I don't have the skills, no way am I going up in front of my kids and making a fool out of myself, or not knowing, or not being ready to answer questions. So let's look at the classroom. Those 4 C's. You are trying to build multi-layer skills and build in complexity for critical thinking, collaboration, creativity, and communication. If they don't have these skills, or they have them in isolation and they don't understand how to partner them or how to bridge them, the 4 C's is not going to happen. And if it does, it's going to be a novelty. And that's not what we're looking for. So the skills domain is fascinating because it really gives you insight into what's going on. Okay, I am going to have us jump to environment. It is another favorite domain for me because I am a big proponent of school culture. And if school culture is not ready for an implementation, if it is unhealthy, it's not going to work. It's just not working. You can have the strongest district plan for pushing something out, but if your independent school buildings don't have that school culture to embrace the skills and behaviors and the confidence, it's not going to work. That's in here. There's a lot of school culture stuff. It's not identified as such, but you'll be able to pick it out pretty easily. The 3 P's stand for policies, procedures, and processes. This will talk about your internet filters. This will talk about your policies regarding what is your policy for students being able to take devices home. What's your policy for teachers taking devices home? Support, how teachers are perceiving technology support. I was a little careful with the wording on that. What's their perception? How quickly, and what's the quality? Is support hindering learning and teaching going on in that classroom, right? Those will be very interesting. Professional learning. This is definitely for professional development people and your curriculum people. Teacher interest in ed tech is the pot of gold. Because if we go into that, Judy, that second variable. If we ask teachers to rank what their interests are in learning more and professional development. Multimedia skills as a region is something that educators want more of. Classroom management with technology. Second, not only with workflow, but behavior management. If I'm a teacher who is facilitating tablets, iPads, whatever it is, I have 28 kids. How the heck do I differentiate that? How do I know that they're on task? How do I manage what they're actually doing? How do I assess that? How do I chat with them if I feel like they need me to come in and help them with something? It's overwhelming. So being able to hone into that and understand classroom management with technology and how do we do this and what are the best practices and what are some examples, what are some vignettes, okay? There are 7, I believe they ranked 7 categories. So if we look at the top 2 and we look at the last 2, online writing and I'm guessing, yeah, foundational skills, okay? So being able to prioritize, we're in May, essentially. Do you have time as you're building your professional development program this summer to consider what type of multimedia skills opportunities you can give them and what type of work can you do with the technology management? Can you work with Green Hills? That's what they're there for, to help you out with these types of things. So this is very interesting to look at for those people responsible for professional development. I'm going to go to one more thing with, oh, actually, you know what? This is a really nice domain to talk about relationships. So I'm going to take over for a second. I'm going to do this very quickly. I recognize I'm doing this quickly. It's okay. I don't expect you to do this. So it's because I know where my data lives. And if that's one thing, in addition to where your teachers and students are today, how important it is to understand where your data lives in this platform, because things will be much easier. Relationships will pop out at you versus I just don't know, because I don't know if this is even an option. So being able to take the time and just see where things are. So in professional learning, under the 3 Ps, there is a question in teacher frequency of technology discussion regarding feeling rewarded. I'm going to scroll down. And remember, this is our regional data. Okay. Teachers feel rewarded for integrating technology into teaching. 20%, actually, more than half the time at least, feel rewarded for integrating technology into teaching. Now, here's the relationship. If I move down to beliefs, this question was asked to both teachers and students, and it's about their school. And here is the statement. My school encourages technology use for teaching and learning. Is the combination of strongly agree and agree 20%?
Yeah.
What's going on here? That feels like a very strong correlation between I feel rewarded for integrating technology and my school encourages the use of technology in teaching and learning. I would expect that when I look at the data, they'd be very closely connected. And is that what we're seeing? Huge disconnect. What a great conversation starter as to what's going on here. Let's talk about this. Let's maybe define some things. What's your definition of reward? What does that mean to you? You know what? Let's make it even easier and take out monetary. Now, what are some examples of feeling rewarded? What can we do to acknowledge all of your hard work in being a trailblazer in this school, in this district, and doing this in a best practice way? This is an excellent example of how powerful the relationships can be in this data. And it's just a matter of knowing your data, know where it lives, working and collaborating together to be able to find those relationships and those correlations. And then how does this tie back to moving the dial in the classroom? How does this affect what's going on in the classroom or what's not happening in the classroom? Okay. What do you think? How does that feel to you? Okay. Classroom. We'll jump into our last domain. Okay, so classroom is about the 4 C's for teachers, students, digital citizenship, assessment, assistive technology. And the 2 things I'm going to talk about are, not surprisingly, teacher use of the 4 C's and having a kind of honest discussion about digital citizenship. So, Judy, if we dive into teacher use of the 4 C's, I'm going to hone right into critical thinking, right? That's where we want to be at. And if we just scroll through some of the, actually, let's stop with this first one. Teachers ask students to collect and analyze data. At the very top, it is in relation to technology. So sometimes this is a little confusing. People are saying, well, yeah, they do that without technology. In this case, it is referencing technology. To me, when I look at this, it feels a little heavy on the back end. I would like this to actually flip-flop and see that on the front end. Okay. How do we compare nationally? Are we in the same boat, ahead of the game, a little behind? And I'm guessing we're probably in the same boat. Oh, and this is Iowa. Nope, that's okay. Yep, that's all clarity. Okay. So everyone is struggling with this. Everyone is struggling with the 4 C's. It's not intuitive. It doesn't happen overnight. It's hard and it's messy and it's painful and it's going to take some time. Okay. Go ahead and let's scroll down and see some other ones. So conducting experiments or performing measurements. Some will say, you know what, this really actually correlates really well with math and science. It's a little hard for our English and humanities people to do this. Absolutely. Okay, but at least it kind of gives us an idea. Eventually, you will have the ability to filter by grade level, so you can really see what's going on in some of those upper grades. And then if we continue scrolling, conducting research, more balanced. I like that. Definitely some opportunities for growth, but at least it's not so heavy on that front end. And then I believe the next one is authentic problem solving. And let's go ahead and compare that to students. So this is interesting because as we look at this, I would think they would be a little bit more similar, and yet there's a gap. So this is a great example to tell you that when your students answered the questionnaires, we differentiated them. There was an elementary questionnaire for 3rd graders, 4th and 5th, and then we had a secondary questionnaire. As you're looking through your success indicators today, you will see an itemized line for student and elementary. We are in a student, which means that this is recognizing secondary student responses. Those who are elementary principals, when you go back home, if we have any here today, you are going to focus specifically on your elementary student lines. Because this is secondary students, there is an explanation as to why you see a gap. Anybody want to give a, why is that happening? Thank you.
Because like if one teacher teaches sophomore English, all the sophomores get that class. So one teacher may be doing it and all the students are getting it, but not all the teachers are doing it.
Bingo. I have 6, 7 teachers a day. Maybe I have 5. Mr. Headley always asks me to do this kind of stuff. It drives me crazy. Yep, I'm asked to do that. That might be my only teacher, but because I have that experience, that is how it's being reflected in my responses. Okay. That makes it makes it much easier to go through the data, recognizing elementary students is differentiated from the secondary students, and secondary students are simply referred to as students. Okay. Okay. Let's go ahead and jump to digital citizenship. So if we can go back into the domain. Just like the 4 C's, I feel like there's something going on with digital citizenship across the country. Typically, yep, digital citizenship is either gray or pink. And I believe you are in the pink. You're almost into proficient. If we look at yearly time spent on teaching digital citizenship, let's just go ahead and scroll for a moment. Time spent per year teaching about creating an online presence. 66%. I don't teach that. Okay, let's go ahead and look down. Legal use, 50%. Cyberbullying, again, it's pretty high on the back end. Online safety, a little bit lower. And using social networks for learning, 66% don't teach this. So I find this fascinating. Is this about a lack of resources, or is this an ownership issue?
I think it's taught by someone other than the classroom teacher. It's either the guidance counselor or the tech integration person.
Right. I don't teach that. That's the guidance counselor. I don't teach that. That's technology. I don't teach that. That's media specialist. It feels like it's being siloed right now, kind of like we siloed technology. Oh, we don't actually use technology to learn. We go to computer lab to do that. Right? That wasn't so long ago, and for some of us, that's still happening. Right? Well, I signed out the card for 2 weeks. What the heck am I going to do with it now? Right? I'm putting the technology in front of the content, in front of the curriculum. And so I think that this is very interesting to see. I think that this is an ownership thing, and it's a mind shift thing, and it's a school culture thing. Typically, it's taught in a unit at the beginning of the school year. It's siloed out and we move on. So to think about best practices, to think about the 4 C's, to think about 21st century learning, digital citizenship, we need to be able to give our teachers the confidence and the knowledge base, and being able to recognize on the fly, wow, actually this is a really good time to talk about legal issues about images. You can't just copy and paste that, guys. There's a process here, and this is why. Doesn't matter if I'm not guidance or media specialist or technology. This is an aha moment that's going to happen multiple times a day. It's not going to be a formal conversation. It's just giving that information. And if we have time, hey, let's have a discussion, because apparently my kids are engaged in this. So how do we get from siloed unit, that person teaches it, to this is everybody's responsibility? How do we do this? Green Hills can be a huge piece of that. And being able to give that knowledge base, the confidence, being able to recognize, and I think as you go through your teacher feedback, they seem like they have a solid knowledge base, but I don't think that they recognize that they're talking about digital citizenship when it's coming up in daily teaching and learning. They don't recognize it as such. So how do they identify and then correlate it and then actually execute? Whew. Okay, that's just the dashboard. And there's over 300 data points to eventually get through today. Well, not today, but long term. We're going to prioritize today so you don't go through those 300 data points. A really helpful element of the platform is the report. And if you go up to data, reports, there are a number of customized reports based on how you filter, region, district, school, that you can look at. And if you hover over each report, it will tell you who the stakeholder it's intended for and just a little blurb of what it's about. Again, depending on who you are and what you're responsible for, each of these will be, maybe interesting to you or not. Typically curriculum, professional development, 21st century learning. Because you're in Iowa, if you scroll to the next page, you also have, where did it go? You should have, there's not. Oh.
I got one.
Oh, there are Iowa Construct reports in the lenses. So they must have did a little bit of an update this weekend because you actually had supervisory reports.
We have them.
Oh,
Yep. Yes.
okay. So if you have that scroll bar, go ahead and see what other reports are there.
Yes.
Judy, let's jump into professional development. Okay. So on the second page,
Judy, you want to put my computer, because I've got it.
right, but I'm not logged into you, so it's going to take me a little bit of downtime to.
Right.
Okay. If we go on to page 2, one of the most powerful pages on the report. Every report always starts off with research. We are a research-based organization. It is vital to everything we do. The second part of this page is a customized infographic, which I love. School board presentation, at a glance. This is where we are as a district. The data we're looking at is a regional view. When we're looking at professional development, this at a glance is where our teachers are today. I can see the outliers immediately. I can see where we need help. Let's talk about how we're going to allocate resources to this and to this. These look like high priorities right now. How do I know that? Because they're in pink. That is an opportunity for growth. Those are probably going to be the areas we're going to have more conversations in because they need more help. If you scroll down a little more, Judy, I think it should tell you how many teachers were surveyed and then just a few tidbits as to being able to solve their own tech problems, easily learn new technologies. This is where we're at. I'm not showing my school board 300 data points. I'm not taking them through the domains. I'm using infographics and I am identifying very interesting data points to share with them that might be compared to the rest of the country so that we can say, you know what, we're doing a great job in this area. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you so much for the vision. Here are some things we need to still focus on. What are we going to do to get there? Not giving school board this whole thing. Don't need it. I'm not giving my teachers this. As a building administrator, I'm using the report. I'm using the interesting data points at my staff meetings. I'm not going to expect them to dive into this. That's for leadership teams to be able to do. Okay, love the infographics. They're all customized based on the information that you want filtered. The third page is not very interesting right now to you because it's about having more than a baseline. As you become more veteran with your Clarity data, this will be something to look at. Right now, it's pretty much not there. The next page, it's a little different in some of the other reports, are your scatter plots. This is being recorded, so I'm not going to give my personal opinion of this. Okay, so researchers are adamant that we include these in our reports internally. Basically, what it helps us do is identify outliers and know that in a scatter plot, we are looking to be in the upper right quadrant. That's where we want to be. Page 5. Page 5, I love. It is a school scorecard of where your schools are in the success indicators that are contributing to professional development report, to the curriculum report, to 21st century learning. So in this case, as we're looking at professional development, this is how it breaks down into how those, where they lie on that continuum. Again, this is really nice for PLCs, for being able to bring people together in either mentor relationships and being able to do peer reviews and being able to look at this and to identify, gosh, these schools have the same, they're the same way that we are. We're in the same place. Can we get together and kind of do our action planning and goal setting together? We're very similar. Why am I doing this in isolation? So great place to go to get that type of information. So that is your reports under data, and then you go to reports. Or you could just see it right here as a third option. Whew. That's the most you're going to hear me talk today. All right, how are you feeling about things? Given the time, believe it or not, I actually did decrease my pace, if you can imagine. There's a lot to go through. That is how I look at the platform. That's how I look at my domains. Being able to connect those relationships, to correlate. I am always about going back into the classroom. How is this impacting what's happening or not happening? Okay. And then Judy, if we can go back to the dashboard view. All right. I did not talk about insights right now. I will talk about insights this afternoon, right before you attack your goal setting working tool that David sent out to you this weekend. I think that would really help to set the stage when you start working on that. Any questions about what we just went over? Concerns, frustrations? Or you could put them in the troubleshooting doc if you'd like to do that. Yes, sir.
How do you print off the questions from the surveys?
So, that is an excellent question.
Not the answer, just the question.
You can't. Because if we allowed you to print the questions, we're basically giving you our intellectual property. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
We can, there are times when you can say, gosh, it would be really helpful if we can understand what the question was. We can show you that particular question. We can show you a set of sample questions, but you do not have the ability to print off all the questions. They are smart, adaptive questions. So basically, based on the person's response, we generate very specific questions. And so there's many of them. It's not a static set. I'm sorry.
No.
Okay. All right. We are going to jump back into PowerPoint to give you directions to get into your own data. Who does not have a login? Is there anybody who does not have a login? Great. Okay. Then I'm actually going to take you to a place that you may not have been before. And that is the Clarity Social feed. So if I go live, if you go to your icon in the upper right-hand corner and you click on your name, it's going to take you to the social feed page. So this is a place within the platform that you can go to communicate with Green Hills. You can go to communicate with each other when you're not in this particular situation, which is most of the time. There is a conversation that we wanted to have before we proceed, and that is, right now, there are a number of groups, and there is an Iowa State group. And the idea would be, whenever you wanted to connect, you would go to the Iowa State group. A number of groups, a number of AEAs have chosen to have their own private AEA group. So it's a little bit smaller, you're connecting with them anyway. So Green Hills wanted to ask you, what would you prefer? Because today we're going into the social feed to do all of our reflections. To publicly commit today, before you leave, what you're going to commit to making sure that your data is actionable. Reflections are going to go here today, discussions are going to go here. So would you rather contribute to the Iowa group, or would you like us to create a Green Hills group? And is there anything that I missed, Green Hills, with that conversation?
Green Hills. There is one.
There is a Green Hills group?
Yeah.
Oh, that's because our customer support is way too good. Green Hills? Does that sound like the general? Okay. So I have a couple of challenges in this. Let's get you set up in the social feed. The other really interesting thing that we've done, is every week they send you 3 articles. Research studies, case studies, white papers, and it's just a blurb. And we actually customize those 3 weekly blurbs based on your role and the type of organization that you're in. So if you can actually update your profile so that it is complete, you're more likely to actually get articles that are interesting to you. So the way that we do that is, you look at mine, if you go up to, sorry, this looks a little bit different today. BrightBites updates multiple times throughout the month. Sometimes it's very subtle, and sometimes you're like, what is going on here? If you go into settings, this is your profile information. We're most interested in your role and what type of organization you work in. So once you do that, and if you'd like to update and put a photo in so we can see you, that would be great. I'm going to go back to my main page by using that drop down in the upper right hand corner and click on my name. We are going to ask if you would kindly follow 5 people. Okay. So right next to your name is find people and groups. If you click on that, and if you would like to find anybody here, anybody in your district who has admin rights to Clarity, you can certainly follow me. The trick is put in last names. It is much better at identifying a name by its last name than Tom, in which case you will have many names dropped down. And then if you can join Green Hills today, any other groups, the Iowa group, customer support group, whatever, but just start getting active on this. And we'll be going back to this throughout the day. And let me know if you have any questions.
So she'll be with the chart. And then when I click on HT, and I can add all the stuff. Okay, so I'm adding a member. And then I'm gonna put your name in.
As you are finishing up that, I'm just gonna put some guidance statements up here, because when you're done with the B, you can go ahead and spend some time in your data, looking at it from a different perspective based on this morning, okay? This is just getting comfortable with it. And then we're gonna have an exercise, a collaborative exercise that's gonna help you to high prioritize your success indicators so that you know where to focus this afternoon. Okay. This would also be a good time, like in the next 20, 25 minutes, to stretch, biological breaks like that. And all of us are around if you have questions or.
Okay,
So my expectation is you have not made statistical significance.
I just followed you. You just followed you.
Okay, so in that case, as long as you have student responses.
Okay, here, okay, scan down. We can also.
In the troubleshooting doc, you are going to want to request that your questionnaires be deactivated so that it will generate your data, and then at the end of the day, it will react. No, you will. You'll be able to see it through the day, and then turn back on so that you can look at it. Does that make sense? That's really good. Yep, exactly. Yep, exactly. Yeah.
And then what was the other one? Stop it.
So if I want to follow.
So you click on
Yeah.
What did you find? You guys okay? Everything comes in there. It wasn't me too. I got a really good picture of this one. Maybe a picture's too big.
Not in. But I don't mind reading like that. And then you'll see everybody in this room.
Okay. All right. Thanks. I remember. You're welcome.
Yeah, what are your roles? And then if you go here to members, you have all these.
Tell him what's like.
Well,
We're gonna have to pull it into. Oh, it's in iPhoto. I crop it in iPhoto, but it's the resolution that's really big. So if I were you, I would. You can go to Pixlr, which is an online site, and pull it in there and resize it. Online photo editor, and it just goes to just the Express. It's all right. It's going to ask you to probably drag and drop that picture in. You have to go browse for it. So you guys can find your picture, photos.
You know, actually, we don't like that. I know, I think that's.
And one of them, there's a resize.
What do you do? First pages, so.
I think you can go to that slide down. Well, that's got resolution. I think right now it's 480 by 640, so make that half. 240. This is already checked, right? Keep it pushing. So it should automatically change. Yes.
There's one of them.
All right, now we need to save it and give it a different name.
I'm trying to put a picture in. Yeah, Betty, I'm following.
Okay, now try that. Now it's half the resolution.
And right now. Well, first you have to go back there. You're under Betty. Yeah, I put my picture under Betty. Betty doesn't have a picture. She's working on it.
I am working on it.
Okay.
Why did I have my head on? Oh,
My computer is not working, so I'm maybe listening and I don't know.
No.
So yeah, that's it. All I have to do is I. I am just as frustrated. I said, are you
Well, I'm going to that meeting today. He doesn't. I know, but that's why. Oh, I know, and I want to know. I don't well, we have to have something or they got to order art. You can't barely do it. I don't know. It's not using this for me. Use a bunch of others. Well, see, I don't even have one. Yeah.
There's some really good stuff out there. And see, that's it I know
your teachers. No, they don't really struggle. Just finding time to do
and that's your idea.
Yeah.
So get right. Yeah. It's funny.
Yeah, she's right. I used to. It's crazy.
But then they put you on. That's not it. You don't get this year also. It just suggests. So we don't care about the budget. Just try to take there's so much.
Right, right.
It's fun to get very frustrating. That's what I have noticed. They are actually there.
No, and I see I mean,
don't know.
It's for us at the end of the year. It is. Yeah. Good. Great. Yeah. Yeah.
It's really good. We need to sit down with, yeah, see. Right, right, right. Exactly. And is there something? Absolutely, if you have somebody that takes their ownership. Right, right. Well, we can look at this a little bit, but if there are any questions, and just say, yeah, we need to hear something about that. So, we need to figure out what is it we really give us.
And then I also have. Yeah, and I got this. Yeah.
I think actually something.
So how are things for you today?
Oh, I'm fine, I'm sorry, I'm multitasking, a teacher having trouble with this.
I understand, I know how hard it is to.
But otherwise, yes, it's
Okay.
yeah.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, it's good.
Oh, you're welcome. I didn't want to interrupt.
No, I just had a teacher send me a list of issues. stupid house on Capitol. So online, I just need to say aloud this assessment to be retaken, because she made McKenna's grades, right? So I just say aloud. Yep, it's supposed to be, okay, so it's supposed to be, it's supposed to be good. But McKenna's way to do this a week, but there's a way that you would be sweet. Now, I mean, she can take it at a time, but for the, if I submit a ticket and tell them that, you can see it that way. If I submit a ticket right now, and say that she put my McKenna's and my other gets going to be and they can move this into because they can't. Really? I've got my good degree. Well, it usually makes sense to take everything. I'm sure she's right. She's usually really good about getting back.
But yeah.
I honestly think they are all and when the
Okay, so we are passing out a set of cards. So this is a high prioritizing exercise. This is not supposed to look like that. Okay. So every team has a set of cards to do a collaborative activity. We're going old school. Paper and pen. Okay, very tactile and kinesthetic. The expectation is you're going to divide out the cards among your team. You have the workload. The smaller cards are your indicator cards. So when I go onto the dashboard, your cards are, for instance, the 4 C's for students, the 4 C's for teachers. And what you're going to do is the cards that you have as an individual, you're going to go through each of those success indicators, look at the color, and decide where do you sit on the continuum. The 4 C's for students, I'm pretty much right in the middle there, which actually for baseline is pretty impressive. If I also had digital citizenship, where am I in digital citizenship? Look at teachers and students in that case. So the first thing is to just place a marker on the continuum on your card to let you know this is where we are. The second one is dive a little bit deeper, get into some of these data points and start taking some notes. Okay? It is an opportunity for growth and it's a pretty high priority that we don't have any authentic learning going on. You do, but this is something we want to focus on. So just give yourself to notes. Everything piggybacks on one another from here on out today. This is going to be the base for your next activity this afternoon, which will be the base for your goal setting and action planning. What you want to come out of this activity is to be able to, once you have collected all of the cards, to basically make 3 stacks. High priority, medium priority, low priority. You're going to do the same thing for the reports. Those are bigger cards. Go into the curricular report, professional development, 21st century learning. This blank is your wild card, whatever you're interested in. You may not have time, that's okay, you can take these with you. If you would like a copy of these, if you want the digital, because you would like that back at home. Oh, yes, sir. Do you not have cards?
No, I want a copy.
Oh, okay. We can send those to you as well, okay? So you're going to do the same thing in reports as well. In the area of curriculum, where do we sit? Here are some notes I'd like that we need to think about later on this afternoon. Any questions? The hope is it's going to generate conversations. It's going to be very collaborative. This afternoon, we are only focusing on your high priority cards that come out with. All right. Give me a moment.
One of those lines go. Okay. Go to the dashboard here. So when I click on this, I'm just thinking that there's would be all the different schools, right?
No, no. Yeah. I know.
What are we? Okay. I think so. And get out. Absolutely. Yeah. I would think so. Okay, so are you clicking on
So that we can go ahead with this. I'm gonna work with you guys.
We need to look at it, yeah. Okay, so we're gonna look at.
We don't have.
Okay. So, we are using the master accounts to run this.
Oh, you should.
With me.
Oh, there we go. What other sheets on the
Yeah, I think so. Now you can see that, you're getting to see. So you guys can.
We're supposed to go like big to that.
So we're about 11 to there. Is it okay? So you're on write that down.
Yeah.
So let's,
I think it's important that you said that.
that's why I think it's something different than that. Because it's kind of like.
Lots of things, we do that for like PD and they never receive, they never ask you. Yeah. That's what I it's a good from someone other than them. Okay. Pray for someone.
Well, we have to get.
Like, video chat, pretty close. So, okay, define web tools, like, for like, there. Yeah.
That's what I was.
So it's like talking about titrating. That's what my understanding is. That's what their highlight is. Students and teachers. Okay, awesome. Great. So, 83%. Bye. Good to see you later again. Take care. Yes, I enjoyed it. We'll see you guys. That's our big stuff, right? Well, 82% of students, 83% of teachers change their yeah. Okay, but there's more than the C's. Education. Four C's are communication, collaboration, creativity, communication, collaboration, yeah. Maybe I probably should figure out what this is. Sorry. I'm just trying to ask students to collaborate on the and we're still comparing in Iowa, or what are we comparing to?
She said students.
Oh, okay. And which is great, arts building specific. And what were the scissors for again? You could cut that down to presentation. There you go. So, teachers, yeah, that's not, yeah, but if the teachers aren't using those types of programs, then you're not gonna have a good. So that's yeah. Wow. Play with other schools. See, that's something where I think we can utilize that next year.
Online space for documents. That's a difference. So, this person is going to say never collaborate online with their teachers. So collaboration.
And I like it this way, that collaborate. This is a good program. I know why you're trying to bust my cracks. Oh, I agree.
Okay, so to me, the main thing was that they're not asking them to be collaboration. So much for working together, but they,
What about even in Google Drive? Those two students have access to that document, and then both of them have to have a conversation either in the classroom. One could be on one side, one on the other. Yeah, exactly. Yep. Yep, that's right. Yes. But it's, I think it's just getting them to think outside the box. Getting the teachers to figure out. Okay, so we go to the next one then?
teachers and students collect and analyze data.
Mine, would that be? Never?
Should we point that out?
Yes. That's where I'm going to go in. Wow. This one?
At the top, can you do that? Right there, at the top, just I'll do 40 elementary.
Where'd you do that?
Went up to those little-
Right there. Oh, there we go.
So that's when I.
Do I want to see what mine says?
It's 55%. Mine's 50%.
64. So let's put the other
Are
one.
they taking answers using technology? Probably. But they should be using technology. So I'll do the high school.
Yeah.
It's not kidding you.
64%. Same.
So this is like 36, 30, 50, 57%, which is pretty good. Okay, I'm gonna go back to the. I created a video. The next question is identify the solve authentic programs.
Like real world. Authentic. Is that what you? Like applicants. Just go to the general. Okay, should we do that then? Because you're right, we're never gonna get through these.
So, was there another? Creativity. I'm gonna write that down. Okay, so let's do student facilities.
Yep. We just put down the bottom. Is that what we're doing right now?
Well, that's this.
Right.
So where are they? Does it have the percentage? It's just gonna be right here. This one was in the gray.
Right?
This takes this.
So,
These are the C's, okay, these are the C's, we're just looking at this one thing.
yeah.
Now we're looking at. Teacher.
That's only good for group. Yeah. Right? Okay.
Teacher assessment, is that one? Assessment.
A little lower than the. No, teacher assessment, right? No, teacher. Can you just do that one? Yeah, we do the technology.
Yeah, maybe it's not in there. So. Classroom to access this.
We're good, but I think we're going on too detailed.
We weren't really digging into that.
We started going through each of them. I was like, okay, we're not supposed to do this.
Now we're like, maybe we better just keep going on these. That's where we are.
I mean, we were making notes, but you don't want us to do that right now. You just want us to kind of.
Well, I mean, it really, gosh, this is the thing. You spend 2 days here.
I know.
Yeah. So just being able, if you can, quickly with the rest of these, just go through your dashboard domain, looking at those success indicators from a high level, and basically just say, high priority access for students.
Gotcha.
That's good. Good. High. High.
That's a lot easier than what we were doing.
Basically, no. High. And yeah. So these I see as your middle.
Sure, sure.
And then, what did I say?
Oh, there's these too.
Those are low. Those are low.
I guess those too.
High. I don't know if I can feel about this. It could be a high, but then the thing is, yep. So that could be a high or a medium, but I would definitely put this as your high priority in terms of success indicators. Okay. Low, medium maybe, I'm not quite sure. And then curriculum, that's gonna fall into all high, because that's about your skills and professional development. There's 2 of you, so we'll do it, we'll get it. Yep, and then high. That's how I would look at it. Yeah. And then at least you can put these to the side and just focus on the smaller stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Because you're working so hard.
Okay. Okay, so there are teachers at school. So these are great. Teachers access teachers at school. This was great. That's not very good. Access to students at school. So we're doing okay with that part of it. Yes. Access. Foundational skills, teachers. Students are green as well. Don't need to know specific techniques. Is that a good foundation? Okay, online student skills, teachers online skills. So those are teacher online skills. Proficient, it says. Yeah. Multimedia. Student, teacher. Those are both ones as well. So skills seems like gave us skills and access to a work concerns, environment, and classroom is a huge feature. So the three kids. So beliefs. That's free. That's not hybrid. Tech support. Well, it's not funny because I would say,
Oh, no, you're not. Wait, that's right. But you're understanding.
You just go to the dash, get it that way. You can still get it, you just can't flip it.
Any
Right, so, but you should get to those two reports. And do the curriculum review to participate in some way. This is one that we didn't do too much. Sorry. It gives us overall.
Okay, we're down here. Okay.
47% have content. 77% have students.
Okay, so that one is curriculum, right? So
Ability to record and edit video, 38 online skills. I mean, this is showing you where
contributing chapter.
Then basically it's just.
So.
We'll give you something. Yeah. And we want size. We want what? We want?
No.
Green. We want green. Nice. Oh, that's good. Fine.
It's kind of the opposite. They don't feel they have very good online skills.
I don't believe have that belief.
That is important.
Yeah.
Yours have really good technical skills.
But look at we're yellow.
These are kids.
Oh, these are the kids.
I'm not sure.
Yes, you're right, student.
487
Student.
students.
Survey.
I think that this is
Yeah.
So.
Okay, then let's look at,
Okay, so 20% is that. Oh, yep, it is. That's the collaboration. Writing online, authentic problems.
yeah, and then
85% spend less than 3 hours in teaching digital citizenship. Okay, so I'm gonna go I'd say that that's
okay, because here, emoji.
And gray is even worse. Gray means it's non-existent.
Yeah. Okay, so we're going to talk about.
Why can't I get to, what's the remote function? Oh, there you go. Professional development.
So,
what we need to do is figure out what areas of this is a priority. We got to figure out what areas.
the biggest thing is online skills. 12% of teachers want to express interest in PD in this area.
77% have multimedia skills.
Right. Here's the two areas. Like I said, just separate them. So my teachers feel like they have foundational skills and they have a belief, but they don't feel like they have the multimedia skills. Doesn't that contradict? Oh no, because the students will have that we do that.
So multimedia skills. Multimedia and online skills are pretty much
The same, aren't they? They're pretty close.
they're both.
Yeah. No, but he has a thing that he did. He's been doing classroom observations, but that's no where he's doing that because they haven't been my building.
Okay, and here's my question. Wasn't expecting you to make the address. I mean, because I asked him, I said, what kind of majors? What do I have to do here? What am I supposed to do? He doesn't okay, so.
Oh, and I don't really know because I'm not familiar with the building. So, you know, but here's what everything down. So why do I have to do it?
Well, and I can see why you feel so, and I hope you're not even leaving. I don't know you do Yeah. Well, that's what I'm worried about because, well, I'm just worried but then I gotta do everything over there. What am I gonna do? So my question is, what do you think he does? Will the teachers make decisions with the lesson on Thursday? I'm not gonna make a decision on Thursday. Look at that. They expect very, very soon that to be the teacher because they know I think where my agency they know that I said they know that they need I know that. They would try to do it. You know that's why the first year you come to you don't make major changes. By the way, I did get hit and I just went on. That's part of it, and that's part of the plan. I mean, that's part of what you're going to incorporate a comprehensive.
Is a bit of a challenge. This is where I'm kind of pushing you to connect the dots, to connect the relationships, to figure out what the heck is impacting why that's not happening. For me, I connect the dots high level for right now, just so that I can be able to focus in on the area and then dig deeper later on. In the area of environment, professional development is going to impact why this is not happening or happening. Digital citizenship might be a relationship that is coordinated to that. Skills might be coordinated to that. Beliefs might be a part of that. So being able to know where your data lives and to be able to start looking at this as a tentacle. How far and how wide does it reach out? Because these areas are where you're going to set your actions to support what you make of this goal. Does that make sense? This might be a little tricky right now, and that's understandable. But it's really helpful that you can connect those dots. This last column, I'm going to ask you to brainstorm from a teacher's perspective why this is happening. So as a group, brainstorm based on your opportunity for growth, that data point that you're concerned with. When my brainstorm, the reason why I have so many teachers not asking for online feedback is because how do I go about coordinating my students, collaborating with others online? How do I find a teacher also interested in collaborating and want to talk about the same content I want my students to talk about? Do I have the technology? I don't know what I need to use to do that. How do I oversee this? How do I know if my students are on task? What do we do with feedback? Is it safe? What are the rules? How do students keep track of the feedback they receive in the conversation? That's just my brainstorm. When I look at these questions, an alternative header I could use is fear. This column is going to be all fear-based. Fear of change, fear of the unknown, fear of failing, fear of looking like a fool in front of my students. I am scared. I don't know how to do this. And I don't know how to reach out for help because I don't want to look like an idiot. Once you actually start going through each of these questions, typically an organization will be like, oh yeah, we can help them with that. Oh, don't they know that we had this class last month? Hey, don't they know that the person in their building just did this a couple of weeks ago? Like, the ways to support them start overflowing. Because in a lot of ways, you're probably already supporting them. It's just not obvious. They might have to be the ones who are finding it and initiating it. And being able to have building level support and programs, a go-to person, peer observations and getting the teachers outside of their classroom. It's not an evaluation. We're not assessing you. We just want to see, stop working in your isolated islands. Open up the doors. See what's going on. So this column is really important too, because that's going to be an initiator for all the types of things that you can do to support them. Okay. So this is the next tool that we're working on. And it's based on that high priority stack that you did this morning. Any questions? Okay. We will check in with you in a little bit and see how you're doing.
It was no, I agree. Pretty still. Yeah. Okay. So this is how I look at it. We collaborate with each other. So why would that make sense for all, instead of getting all administrators to collaborate on things with the building, you know, and well, that's part of growing.
So my question is, how does
all these little tuxedos here.
She said they post them every based
That's a good idea. And what did Laura put on?
So we could add our members to look at this. We have that.
I think so.
We have that. Yeah.
Do we want to put it on there though until we explain to them what it is? I don't think you want to do that. You're like, well, what is it? And then I'll start looking at it.
We are wondering if having a district meeting, the information we are looking at today would be awesome for this group to look at and make plans based on the data.
Do you have an example of a letter that you type for somebody? So why is it showing up as this is what he sent. He says, oh, I can't use that.
Let's put something.
It's just the way it's going to show up. I'm trying to go back to see if it's more.
So under classroom debate. So what are our priorities? Under classroom. You said the teacher, you said
Well, where's our file? What's our file?
That's because it's in here.
I said the first piece for today. When you.
What was the assessment
Maybe not.
I mean, yeah, but is that
I'd say that's
And then I think we look at, so under classroom, I think that's fine. That's some huge pieces. And you're gonna put in. I wrote all those down.
Actually, we're gonna do this one.
For this question, you go to
That's the communication, the education collaboration, students more for based on this is based on communication for students. So I'm going to actually do that. At first. That's what I'm doing. And this one I'm going to put is the what?
Critical
Collaboration.
Teachers, what's the thing? Never asked to notify.
I also think it's important that something like this never asked them to conduct the creativity we didn't. Let's look at that creativity real quick.
Know your iPhone.
So the
You know what? I never got started on it.
Well, the last thing that we did was I told them we were doing the assessment. They want to do.
Yeah, they want to do that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Teachers and students to create presentation, there's a digital camera,
It's great.
I want to do the never, not 61%, so 40.
What's that one?
This one was present multimedia presentation within to create
Animation.
So let's do this multimedia.
Yeah, I want that one.
8%.
Eye opener?
I think so. So I should say. Never ask students to develop a present. Okay. We're not going to go to in this depth on digital citizenship, but that's another priority that we could do. And then access. Do we have a priority under access?
I think everybody's talking that one.
That was where your collaboration. Collaboration is the same at the bottom. There wasn't one. Teacher reported frequency of writing and logging. I think it's this. I think it's this. Writing
Moderately difficult is the general. So 28%.
38%.
Yeah, more words. It's true, because you put that 10% in there. Using online collaborating, using online.
Okay, now what's that under?
That's under teacher
Okay, let's do multimedia skills.
How do you find it?
Now I do the main.
Oh.
Editing a photo.
For what you want to edit, half of those I've never even attempted to do. So they would mark this difficult because they've never done it before.
Only 28%. Recording and editing. Audio. Let's do this audio
And
or video.
It's like it's all guaranteed from the youth have never tried it.
Yeah.
We don't need that.
Play the game, doesn't matter. Okay, we could do the professional development here. Dashboard. Is that the where's the professional development? Professional development. Is that another domain? Okay, so related to that is
That's in this environment.
I can't remember what she said.
What's that, sorry? Professional development, classroom, digital coaching.
So let's go down. I think someone's important. Maybe I'll pull that out. I don't want to get too much.
Well, they're the ones that answer the questions, so why don't we ask them? Here's the answers, now you guys decide.
As professional, that's time. I don't want that, but I want the interest. I want to see something that I'm interested
So we want to take these back, right?
We want to occasionally to reported interest.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
77% teachers reported interest in. Where was it that we found that? February 4th. No, curriculum. What was it, 21st century? 21st century.
For what?
Was it collaboration? Which was talking about it.
I think it was.
Because to me, that's their digital. We're gonna do that. Do you think right now? She's going to show us the whole thing, which is next week. So is that, so it's an extra unit, it's just all works. Yeah. We could see the value in getting more people involved. The two of us, I'm leaving the district and she doesn't want all this on her shoulders. Yeah.
Well, and like I said, the teachers emailed us out, so let's have that, like our lead team, pull this information and say, okay, here's what you guys said. What do you see? It's not just us reading it.
Yeah, but I feel comfortable that we could go back to you and do that. So how many schools do you have? 4. Okay. 2 elementaries, middle school, high school. Okay. So one of the things that I would ask you to consider, and it sounds like I already know the answer to this, but when you're talking change and creating a plan, there's 3 ways you can go about doing this. You could just have an umbrella district plan for everybody. This is what we've identified. These are our goals. This is how we're going to get there. You could do a district plan and then get the buy-in from administrators, show them the value. This is just not a technology survey. It's about everything. And have them create their own plans that live in the schools.
In their own buildings.
Yep.
Okay.
Whether it's through their school improvement plan, but something. Well, I think if we had our lead team, our whole district-wide lead team, we'd be a great
Into those groups.
building level group. And so they would have ownership. These are our resources, these are our populations, this is our school culture, because you can filter any one of those by school. I figured that out. Exactly.
given, I'm not sure who's responsible for your logins and passwords in your districts, but your teacher leads will probably only have access to their schools unless they have access to the whole district. But that's just an admin rights type thing. The other thing you could do is do that combo of here's our district-wide plan, and then here are all of our individual school plans. So that they're all unique, they're all basing them on their unique data, and they have that clear uniform.
Yeah, and they're fairly uniform with the district as a whole.
Yeah.
I think that's good.
So then the expectation is you can actually share those tools out to everybody, with understanding that you're gonna create your own plans that live in your school.
So when I set these up, like Jennifer has the same privileges, we all have a kids administrator too, he could do that when we set them up. Because we Southwest Valley is the district that's everybody, so we should have access to all our schools. So like Kent, I should have done that. I want to edit his account, and I'm gonna make him, where did I set his priority?
So it should be based on the school administrator, the expectation is they would only be able to see their school. If you put central office role, then you would see everything.
Okay. Can I change that?
So you should be able to say,
See what's been assigned, I can't.
you know what, why don't you put it in the troubleshooting doc and ask Alan how you can change admin rights for people that are already have logins.
Because then we add, when we add a new member, that's where we put in what organization.
And we'll assign it to that building, all the cards. Okay.
And we could choose to give them rights to all of them, or we could just give them their building.
I think we just need to give them their building and their location. I think that's probably the most.
But I think that as all the administrators
have access to the
district, because you guys, as a district team, and you can compare and see where you're at. Sounds like a good plan. Okay, but I need to change Kent. And I can't do that unless, well, you know what I can do, I can almost delete it. Yeah, there should be a way to change it. Yeah, there should be. Okay, so what is that, Doc?
Okay, so if you go into the next tab.
The goal setting?
Yep.
Okay, and we did go ahead and list a few things underneath there that we thought was prioritized, but we didn't want to put too much into it until.
Yep. Okay, so with the goal setting, you're going to take that opportunity for growth that you had in, I think it's column B, that concerning data point, and you're going to transfer it into goal setting, column A. Okay, so this is what I'm concerned about. I'm going to turn it into that metric-based goal. So I'm going from 82% to 50% of teachers will do this by next March. Then I'm going to ask you to connect it to either a building level initiative or a district initiative. And I just went high level 21st century because it's on so many people's radar. The actions are all based from the insights engine on Clarity. So do you have your Clarity data up by any chance, your dashboard? If you go into Insights, that second option. So you might be a little mad at me, but Clarity has its own prioritizing engine. And so it looks at your data. It has 3 categories where you could potentially focus your resources and time. And so from there, it shows you by color code, where would you go? And so it's leveled, so it's prioritized professional learning as a high priority for you. And if you go into that, there's 2 categories called quick wins and game changers. And if you click onto that, quick wins, and why is it always slower in the afternoon?
Like it's here.
Okay, oh wait, do you have it? There, okay. So quick wins are things that you can do that don't take, that don't commit too much time or money. And it's things like simply as a building administrator to filter your reports and to show your staff members the curriculum in 21st century. Yep. Okay. Yep. So use that little scroll, right? Be able to do a PLN challenge. Flip your PD. That typically you might have 2 staff meetings a month. So that's 14 hours in a school year that you can actually use as professional development time, however you see it. It's those staff meetings. So it's those types of things. So I took all of my ideas from Insights and I made them into actions to support my goal of making sure that we get positive feedback. Okay, so if you talk back into here, you can see these are some of my ideas. Yeah. Yeah. And then I do an ownership stamp. So who am I going to actually designate this to? And then what's the time frame? Some of them are ongoing. Some of them I'm going to say, you know what, 7 by this time or whatever it is. This is a little bit long. It does go to column H for the goal setting. So the next column is your budget. Everything that I put down, actually none of it costs any money. I feel like so many of those are all school culture type things. It's just a matter of being creative. And then I tied it back to Green Hills. How can Green Hills support you in achieving that goal? And then the hope is that you'll be able to share that with them. They can use that transparency, and then you can write them into your action.
I like that.
Okay.
So that's it.
What was the, this is the quick.
So that is the game changers. So this is the idea of you would have that go-to, like a team of go-to experts in your schools. And what would that type of, what would that look like? They've deemed it as a train the trainer, but in this, from a district level, they're telling you only one school is actually has the elements to do a train the trainer on. I know that because this light is turned on. And then it will tell you where the great things are happening. I feel like right now, the game changers aren't as robust as the trends. I haven't really seen the way that I've looked at a lot of insights, and most of them don't have a whole lot of examples for those trainers. And then there's an innovator section. Those are just Clarity users who are sharing their stories. This is what our data showed us. This is how we attacked it. This was our goal. And then we just give them your Twitter handle so you can follow them. And then they're also on the Clarity social feed. So if you want to follow them on Clarity, you can. But just some inspirations, like, oh, that's a really good way of doing that. Yeah, so that's your insights. Okay. And that's it. That's what we're going to do this afternoon. So even going through here and getting ideas as you're creating your action plans.
Yeah. Well, I see, third graders there. Good to it. That love level.
Yeah. Good idea.
That's really good. Now we just need to schedule a meeting. Another meeting.
Well, thank
this
you.
is very
Sorry
good
we had to
information.
go. I understand. Oh,
I had about 10.
It's a Monday, right?
Yeah.
It was a Monday. So I'm so glad you were able to make it for the time you were. And
Yeah, it was good. Good.
I'm in good shape. I think we'll be in good shape. We just gotta get information. Now that we know how to do it, we just gotta share that with others. Yeah, that's very good information.
oh, good.
I know, did we sign in or anything when we came in? I don't think so.
Signed in.
I just wanna make sure. I'm not good at anything. I got but I just might go to the high school, go to that rehearsal and watch out.
Okay, so how is
whereas somebody else will.
Got a lot to play with. What's on it? I choose Oh. Hello? Hey. Okay, and I will be out of the district tomorrow because I have a dentist appointment. So what do you want me to do? Okay. Okay, so when I'm coming back right now, I can't, I just talk to Josh. I got to talk to him. And I can't do it right now because I put my Chromebook in format. So I'm going to do that. I'll just come back and do it on my desktop. And I'll. Oh, that's right, okay, well, I'll do that and I'll send it to you. If you hold on to it. I will cross it. No. Okay. Okay, that sounds great. Okay. She has her lunch break time. Other than that, well, rest you can't lay down. I could just have somebody go through. I want to say it's around 12:30. Okay, I will do it. Thanks for like. I know. I know. If it hadn't been anything but this, I just said I can't do it. Yeah. Well, the comments that I made. So that's when I I mean, but it's not me. No, and it's not, but it's not me. But it's still.
The students say 15% say And then teachers should understand. Well, I would say one thing is that
He's always the one who's like looking at something, it's like, yeah, you gotta do this. Say that, sorry.
How can we increase we ask students to identify I think it's a fair question to ask.
There are actually a lot of things that are very close to do, where you can have all of those. Well, mine is all. I just roll out everything.
Ask the students to create animations, demonstrations, or simulations. Are they? I mean, we're just not.
Okay.
Creative.
And the teachers, you know, work.
Students are not asked to use digital
No, I don't.
Better off there.
When fourth grade was down. Which one's not really communication? Well, we did have communication. Yeah.
It's a little I'll check and see what our.
Yes. Yeah.
What I should do is Okay, we're just gonna take a few minutes for Green Hills to talk to you about services, resources, because in the last tool for the day, we are asking you to write into your plan Green Hills and how they can support you in obtaining your goals. So we thought it would be helpful if we remind you what it
So are y'all ready to find out what Green Hills has to offer? All right. So, technology support for Green Hills, from Green Hills. And, you know, actually, those of you in the room may not realize how big Green Hills is. These are all the school districts that we serve, and we're about geographically the size of New Jersey. So sometimes there's some driving involved. And this is our mission statement. And when you see the word risk in there, I think that's a really important thing as to what we do and try to provide for you, is that we try to stay ahead of the curve in technology. And I know that you know that that could be a difficult thing to do, but we try to see all the possibilities. And my favorite new word is courage. So there we are. And so one of the things we do is about infrastructure, but actually in our Clarity survey, we found that almost everyone is really good in access. That was a gold star for everyone, and that was great to see. We have this kind of support in the school districts, and these are the people that serve you. If you're in the east, Stephanie Mickelson will be your point of contact. And if you're in the north, in most of the west, Judy Griffin would be your point of contact. And if you're in the south or one district in the west, I will be your point of contact, Marianne Agro. And this is where we are getting out and taking a risk and trying to be ahead of the curve for you. These are some of our new tools that we're circulating and showcasing and letting you check out to see if you'd like to actually get involved with them. These are 3D printers. And we have at least one district in a given room who has purchased a 3D printer, perhaps maybe more. You guys have big 3D printers, don't you? And Underwood has 3D printers. So actually the price on 3D printers is coming down. And these are not printers that you're going to create an ear for someone like you've seen on, anybody seen that on Grey's Anatomy where they're making an ear? I thought that was amazing. But there's that. And then this is a telepresence robot. And this is very interesting that we checked it out to Riverside. And Judy, you want to, maybe, Cindy, you want to tell us what happened at Riverside with the telepresence, or Judy?
Well, so far, they've only played with it, but they have a student who's having back surgery this month.
He already did, and he's actually already coming back to school, so I don't even know we're not gonna need it.
We thought he was being flat on his back, so we let him try out the robot, because he could control that from home. And he was gonna go classroom to classroom, and, but now I guess he doesn't have to, he's coming back, so maybe he's.
But it's amazing, we could see him, he could hear us, he could see what was going on the board, he was able to participate in everything that we did. It was absolutely phenomenal. It was just like having him in the room. He did not miss anything.
We have two of those now.
Yeah, because he's already done
Okay, so another couple of things that we have are, whoops, why don't you love it? We have robots now that you can check out, and you can program them to do certain things, and we have 4 different kinds of robots that you can check out. In fact, actually, they're sitting in a box waiting back to Albertson here today.
Yeah, I think 5. We have the Spiros, and people think it's just driving this ball around, this colorful light up ball around the floor. You can program those things to, they can play tag, they can play golf. You can program to do lots of things. They can swim, roll them in water. So if you have a pool at school, you can do it across the water. Anyway, there's a lot of programming for those. We have the Lego Mindstorm robots. We have the Recon rovers.
And they look like Transformers, and they're great to work with.
We have B-Bots for the little ones, and we have the one step up from that is for the older, younger kids is the,
looks like a
robots. They look like a car.
Yeah. So you can check those out and try them out with your kids and see if you want to use them. And then we also have Nooks, sets of Nooks e-readers that you can check out to use with your students. So those are some of the latest and greatest technology tools that you can check out from Greenhouse. And then, of course, it's all about the resources. These are some of the resources. How many people in here are aware of NetTracker? Okay, well, I see a lot of people nodding, and I know that I've done professional development on NetTracker in some of your districts, and the other online databases. You and your students can have personalized accounts in these ebook accounts. So Follett and Mackin, you can have your students on with their own accounts. They can check them out, use them on their device. And what I like about ebooks is that nothing's ever overdue.